Good day, ma'am. So I am going to report chapter 13 entitled Labor Law. So we have here our learning objectives. First, enumerate the classifications of employees, their benefits, privilege, and policies affecting them. Second is identify some best practices in handling human resources in tourism establishments. Third, identify the procedures in handling sexual harassment in workplace. And lastly, explain the rights of workers employed in tourism establishments. So the next is the tourism industry. With its labor-intensive nature, is prone to many labor issues. Hence, labor law plays a vital role in efficient operation of a various business enterprise related to tourism. This chapter deals with important provisions governing labor laws, as well as the benefits, privilege, and policies affecting employees. So, constitutional provisions on law. So, Section 3. The state shall afford full protection to labor, local and overseas, organized and unorganized, and promote full employment and equality of employment opportunities for all. It shall guarantee the rights of all workers to self-organization, collective bargaining and negotiations, and peaceful concerted activities, including the rights to strive in accordance with law. They shall entitle to security of tenure, human condition of work, and living wage. So, Section 14. The state shall protect working women by providing safe and healthful working conditions, taking into account their maternal functions and such facilities and opportunities that will enhance their welfare and enable them to realize their full potential in service to the nation. In Section 15, the state shall respect the role of independent people's organizations to enable the people to pursue and protect, within the democratic framework, their legitimate and collective interests and aspiration through peaceful and lawful means. So in Section 16, the right of people and their organizations to effectively and reasonably participate at all levels of social, political, and economical decision-making shall not be abrogated. The state shall, by law, facilitate the establishment of adequate consultation mechanism. So the discussion of the law. Labor, whether local or overseas, organized or not organized, shall be given constitution protection, so the right to strike, although already a part of the right to self-organization, is specifically mentioned. The right to a living wage is expressly stated. A wage is a living wage if it is adequate to sustain a worker and his family in dignity. The state shall promote shared responsibility between workers and employers. Thus, the worker shall also participate in policy and decision-making process affecting their rights and benefits as may be provided by law. The next is the regular employees. So the employees who are deemed regular are: first is those who have been engaged to perform activities which are usually necessary or desirable in the usual trade or businesses of the employees. The second is those casual employees who have rendered at least 1 year of service, which, whether such service is continuous or broken with respect to the activity in which they are employed. Third is an employee who is allowed to work after a probationary period. And lastly, workers supplied by a labor-only contractor to principal shall be considered regular employees of the latter. So in casual employees are those whose employment is neither regular, project, nor seasonal as defined under the Article 280 of a labor code. There is casual employment where an employee is engaged to perform a job, work, or service which is merely incidental to the business of employer, and such job, work, or service is for a definite period made known to the employee at the time of engagement, provided that any employee who have rendered at least 1 year of service, whether such service is continuous or not, shall be considered a regular employee with respect to the activity in which he is employed, and his employment shall continue while such activity exists. So, seasonal employee. Seasonal employee are those whose work or services is seasonal in nature and the employment is for the duration and season. Regular seasonal employees are those called to work from time to time. The nature of their relationship with the employees is such during off-season, they are temporarily laid off, but during summer in season, they are employed or when their service are needed. The next is the project employee. A project employee is one whose employment has been fixed for a specific project or undertaking, the completion of termination of which has been determined at the time of engagement of employee, or where the work of service to be performed is seasonal in nature and employment is for the duration and season. Next is probationary employees. Probationary employees is one who is trial by an employer during which the employer determines whether or not he is qualified for permanent employment. So the next is the benefits, privileges, policies affecting employees. So by virtue of Republic Act number 6727, Wage Rationalization Act, the determination of minimum wage rates are now within the functions of a regional tripartite and productivity board. The next is the Labor Management Council. Under Article 255 of the Labor Code, it reserves the right of an individual employee or group of employees to present grievance of their employer at any time, with or without collective bargaining, with or without exclusive bargaining representatives. The next is the maternity and paternity leaves. Maternity leaves benefits are covered under Republic Act number 8282, May 1, 1997, also known as the Social Security Act of 1997. Under said law, a female member needs to be married, who has paid at least 3 monthly contributions in 12 months period immediately preceding the semester of their childbirth or miscarriage shall be paid a daily maternity benefit equivalent to 100% of her average daily salary credit to for 60 days or 78 days in case of cesarean delivery, subject of the following conditions. First is that the employee shall have notified her employer of her pregnancy and probable date of her childbirth, which notice shall be transmitted to SSS in accordance with the rules and regulations. Second is the full payment shall be advanced by employer within 30 days from a filing of the maternity leave application. Next is the payment of daily maternity benefits shall be barred at the recovery of sickness benefits provided under the Act for the same period of which daily maternity benefits have been received. The next is that the maternity benefits provided under this Act shall be paid only for deliverance or miscarriage. The next is that the SSS shall immediately reimburse the employer of 100% of amount maternity benefits advanced upon receipt of satisfactory proof of such payment and legality thereof. And lastly, that is the employee member should give birth or suffer miscarriage without required contributions having been remitted for her by her employer to SSS. The following condition must be met in order to avail paternity leave benefits. First is he is an employee at the time of delivery of his child. Second, he is cohabiting with a legitimate spouse at the time she gave birth and suffer a miscarriage. Third, he has applied for a paternity leave in accordance with implementing rules. And lastly, his wife has given birth or suffered a miscarriage. Then, the service charges. The rule of service charges applies only to establishments collecting service charge such as hotel, restaurants, lodging houses, nightclubs, cocktail lounge, massage clinics, bars, casinos, gambling houses, and similar enterprises, including those entities operating primarily as private subsidiaries of the government. Next is the employment contract. An employment contract is that by a virtue which one person finds himself with respect to another to place to the service of the latter his own efforts in work, and the latter in turns agrees to pay him a compensation proportional to the time or the quantity of work done. Legally speaking, a contract of employment is sensual in nature which does not require additional formalities for its validity. However, the current practice in labor-intensive industries like the tourism industry is to utilize express written employment contracts clearly understood and voluntarily agreed by parties to protect the interest of both capital and labor. By way of practice, the following are usually incorporated in a written and express contract of employment to emphasize the need of employees to comply with lawful and reasonable orders given a superior in relations to their job. First is company rules and regulations. Second is the code discipline, mission orders, policy manual on security, safety, accounting, and auditing. The next is day-to-day instruction. Next, job description. Next is the standard operating procedures. And lastly, memoranda given by superiors to their subordinate. So in drug testing, under the Republic Act number 9165 on June 7, 2002, also known as the Comprehensive Dangerous Drug Act of 2002, drug testing shall be done by a government forensic laboratories or any of the drug testing laboratories accredited and monitored by a Department of Health or DOH to safeguard the quality of test results. Drug test certificates issued by accredited drug testing centered shall be valid for a 1-year period from the date of issues, which may be used for other purposes. So next is the retirement. Under Article 287 of the Labor Code, as amended by Republic Act number 7641, also known as the New Retirement Law, any employee may be retired upon reaching the retirement age established in collective bargaining agreement or other applicable employment contract. The next is the uniform policies. Some tourism establishments, which include but not limited to restaurants, department stores, rest areas, and gasoline stations, deluxe and first-class hotel, tourist inns, special interest resorts, apartels, motels, and those engaged in water transportation services, requires their employees and staff to be well-groomed and shall wear clean and smart uniforms. Uniform policies in these establishments are prerequisite requirements in order to accredited by the Department of Tourism. So in SSS, PhilHealth Employees Compensation, Commission, and Pag-ibig. Employees in private sectors are covered under the SSS law, wherein the mission is to promote and protect a sound and viable tax-exempt social security system suitable to the needs for the people, which shall provide meaningful protections and members to their beneficiaries against hazards of disability, sickness, maternity, old age, death, and other contingency resulting in loss of income or financial burden. So termination of employment. It is the constitutional right of workers to security of tenure and their rights to be protected against dismissal except for just authorized cause and without procedure to the requirements of notice under the Article 283 of the Labor Code. Due to process and termination disputes, the heart of security of tenure is personal to the employee. The next is best labor practice in tourism establishments. This topic has been added to enable readers to appreciate the best labor practices of selected tourism establishments from the lodging industry, travel agency, tour operators, transportation companies, food services industry, and tourist sites. That would be all for my chapter 13, ma'am. Thank you and God bless.